Okay.
Fucking great.
Right on, Will. It'll get better. In a couple days, we'll be going about a half hour. We had a lot of new moves, and we'll do a trade-off. So Leslie and I will lead different ones in.
Everybody think this guy is a kangaroo? Was
Yeah, you should see my Cosmo Mundi. I don't usually read any poetry here, but I've got one here that really applies to what we've been talking about. And I want to lead from what Michael's saying, what we just did, into the tracking, and then I'm going to pop back out the other side this morning because I'm going to start just mention some chiefs, because before the kings there were chiefs. And I work with the chiefs because in the work that I do with the Indian children, they don't let just anybody mess with their kids' minds. It wouldn't be wise. They've already seen what happens. And so I have met quite a few chiefs in the last few years, and so I want to pass on some information about the Iroquois Confederacy, which is one of the great living models of everything we're talking about in this country. So I'm going to just be about 20 minutes, but we're going to cover a lot of ground. This poem is by Lou Welch, and Gary Snyder gave it to me. First, you must love your body in games, in wild places, in the bodies of others. Then you must enter the world of men and learn all worldly ways. You must sicken. You must then return to your mother and notice how quiet the house is. Then return to the world that is not man, that you may finally walk in the world of man speaking. Okay, one more time. First, you must love your body in games, in wild places, in the bodies of others. Then you must enter the world of men and learn all worldly ways. You must sicken. Then you must return to your mother and notice how quiet the house is. And then return to the world that is not man, that you may finally walk in the world of man, speaking. So we're sort of at the point with this tracking where we've already sickened, and we've come to the conference, and now we want to go to our mother. That's a big capital M. We want to go see our mother and remember how quiet it is out there. I take people out, and you know the Indians say there was no wilderness. They just lived in the world. It was the white man, the European, who called the natural world the wilderness. Because you remember at night people slept with their windows closed because there were diseases that would come in through the window, and they covered their body and didn't wash and covered themselves with perfume rather than bathe. They thought the Indians were quite odd to bathe regularly and wash themselves in a stream, sleep in the out of doors. So it's all turned right upside down. And so I go out and I take people out in New Mexico, and they think we're going out into the wilderness, and they learn how quiet it is out there. And then I bring them back into the city, and they said, "This is the wilderness." And I said, "That's right." How long would a rattlesnake last in New York City? That ain't no rattlesnake. That's a one-eyed worm. Just about as long. Well, let's get back to the tracking tips. I've heard some good reports. A few guys utilized the tips. He lost a piece of his drum, and he was listening to what I was saying, and he went back and looked more carefully and got down, put his nose to the ground, and he found the piece we needed to put his drumstick back together. And when you ask about finding the child, and whoever over here asked about tracking that child, you can, all that, even if you think you've already searched the area, go back and look one more time with this knowledge, and you'll find, I think, what you were looking for, or you'll find the track of that thing. The tip today, we ended on macro, micro vision yesterday. So the next tip is, it just concerns the ruts that we move in. The Indians followed the deer trails. The white men followed the Indians' trails. We built our roads over the Indian trails. We didn't walk like the Indians walked with our toes in and right along that nice deer trail without widening it. We had to widen it. Now it's an 8-lane highway, right? So that we could pull nuclear weapons up and down the highway in case. And you notice those animals' paths crossing the roads, they're not dumb. They've been using those trails for 10,000 years, 50,000 years. They couldn't try to change. That's just their paths. So all of our roads have been built across those. And those have become ruts for us. And we also live in a rut very often. If your life is an ordinary life, and you get up in the same way every morning, you brush with the same hand. Tom Brown always said, you want to change your life? Brush with the other hand. Just try it. You towel yourself off in a very prescribed way. First this arm, then this arm, and then you do this, and you make sure there's none on the back. And then you shave, and then you do, and then you don't. And then you go here, and if anyone wanted to bait you or trap you or catch you, your ways are so darn predictable. They know exactly. 10:04, he does this, he gets in the car, he does this, he turns on the radio. You must get out of those ruts. You cannot see over the edges, it's so deep. You have trodden that path so deeply that you cannot see the world around you. So what you do is you step right out of that rut. And the way that we put it in the bushes, don't always walk on the trails. Follow the animal runs. You see something interesting, bushwhack. Make your own way. Get off the trails. Get off the known and enter the unknown. Maybe you just want to walk parallel to the trail where you can still see it for a little confidence, a little assurance. But after a while, you want to start moving out. That's where everything's happening. Mountain lion's smart. He never walks on the trail. He'll jump right over them so that he doesn't even leave a track for a man to follow. And you'll see the deer might walk along the trail for a while, but then they go off on their runs. A run is more specific than a trail. It's used just by one animal. So you want to get onto the runs. The woodchuck runs, the deer runs, and the elk runs, and off the ruts. Yes?
Yeah, a bushwhacker is someone we don't trust in our society. You were saying go out and whack the bushes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just an observation.
And bushwhacking in the tracker vernacular is just that there's not going to be a trail and we're going to have to make our own way through. And just there, let me make a distinction. We are not, the people that I train with and I work with, we are not what I would call mountain men. Okay, this is not black powder stuff or mountain men, which is sort of like I came, I saw, I needed, I took. Okay, a mountain man just cut down trees so he could lay them across so he could get his wagon across. Well, the Indian rarely cut down a tree. He would use a fire-killed sapling for a bow. There was really never a need to cut down a tree. There's a whole way of moving through the bush where you leave no trail. And you do not break the branches as you go, and you don't need to blaze the trail with a big hatchet mark or paint the trees. We move in a completely separate way. So the bushwhacking that I'm talking about leaves no trail. Even a tracker would have a hard time finding your trail. Okay? Not that that makes bushwhacking good or bad. I'm just saying that's a distinction in my mind. This is tied. The next one is tied into ruts, and it is just called the same old. ... Same old day. Wake up and you say, shit. That's how you start your day. Shit. Same old day, same old job, same old wife or girlfriend, same old dog. Then you look outside and you see a raven, and you say, what was it? Just a raven. just a raven. Raven the trickster, Raven the creator, Raven the great hero of the Northwest, just a raven, just a robin. It was just a mouse. And then the mouse, you go in the sweats and they tell you the mouse is the keeper of the intuitive, the small, the little ones, the direction of the south. Nothing is insignificant in this world. So if you could break that habit of saying the same old guys at the conference, another 100 guys, right? The same old. Well, if you do that disservice to these men, the animals are the same. The same old deer, that might be your uncle. That might be your medicine. That might be a friend, your ally, your horse of power. So, and you say the same old. So you've been cutting yourself off from all the beauty in life. And when you could break the same old, then every day is fresh, and it's just like being reborn every day. It's another day you've never seen before. Another day that the Creator brought you through the night, and it's fresh, and you're new, and you're real. So dream time is that every day is a creation day. See? The real dream time is a beautiful creation time, and that's all the time. The trees don't stop growing because we came inside. See? Everything is still going on. So it'll help you to break that feeling that you've seen everything before and that you know everything, and that a little animal wouldn't have anything to teach you. Now this is a little equation, and it goes like this. I'll repeat it. This is how you break the cycle of thinking that that is separate from you, the outside and yourself. What we don't speak to, we don't understand. What we don't understand, we fear. What we fear, we destroy. So if what we don't speak to, we don't understand. The guy in the office, the girl down the street, whatever, your dog, you just don't get it. I don't know why he's always acting like that. You haven't asked him, you didn't speak to him. What we don't understand, we fear. And what we fear, we destroy. So in a nutshell, if you want to stop the destructive cycle of what's happening on this earth, because outside this conference we all know what's happening in the world around us. And so you begin to speak to the trees. And the first bird that says good morning to you, you say good morning. And that will open you up. That simple little thing. Don't be so proud to just walk through this world and not speak to the things that give you life. The water, the trees, the animals that give their life for you, the plants, the ground, the air. Okay? Everything is a teacher. That's the next tip. Everything is a teacher. The silence is a teacher. The wind speaking has got a message for you if you could hear it. The bamboo bends, the oak tree stands tall. Both have a lesson for you depending on the time. You might need to act like one or the other. The deer, the mouse, the sand, the ocean. And if you know that everything's a teacher, you could never fool yourself into thinking that you're alone. There's no way to be alone in this world because everything is alive. It's impossible. It's the fallacy of level one thinking, separateness. Whereas we all know that everything is connected. And so these are the practices that keep you from forgetting. Even Aborigines, 40,000 years continuous history, have rituals that remind them of the everyday beauty because they too know that they could forget if they stopped doing these things. So these are little practices. Well, if you're never alone, that's great. That's great because there's always something there for you, always some companionship. This is back to the tracking. When you're tracking yourself, when you find a little boy under the tree, when you find a long set of deer tracks, don't step on the tracks you've already found, thinking that they have given you all they've got to give. You may lose the track up where it gets tough, where it hits the concrete or the grass or the thick brush. And you need to go back and look down the tracks you've already found to determine the gait and the direction. So you could see why you don't do that. You don't ever walk on the tracks. Always walk to the side. Sun on the opposite side, reading them, and anytime you want to come back and look again. Get your bearings straight. And I'm going to just do one more, so I've got some few for another time. Another equation, tracker equation. Safe plus secure plus comfortable equals death. Okay, safe plus secure plus comfortable equals death. And we've all been yearning for these things. We've all been looking for that security and that comfort, and then we find that something terrible has happened. We've lost something or something has died. Yes?
You talk about rituals and ruts. How do you keep a ritual from not becoming a rut? Or how do you find rituals that keep you out of ruts?
Before ritual is probably the individual effort or the individual search, and it would be as simple as even though I know that the shortest way to the dining hall is down here and over there, I just vary my route every now and again, so I don't just wear that path thin.
That's not really a ritual.
No, you would move into ritual from that. Habit. Yeah, somehow breaking habit. And then there would be rituals that would seem like habitual because they happen all the time. But if you fall into a natural rhythm, I don't know how to put this.
Conscious or unconscious? A ritual is conscious, a habit is unconscious.
Okay. Yeah. It's a different time frame altogether. 4 minutes. Safe plus secure plus comfortable equals death. So if you want, just make something a little less secure. When you go out, don't take everything you need. Put a little edge on things. You know what I mean? Maybe don't carry absolutely everything plus food for 5 extra days plus the cot and the, right? Go out a little bit lighter. Just take one thing out, nothing drastic, and it'll really change the way that you see everything. And your home. Sleep outside in the backyard once in a while if you got one. It's nice. It's different. Just things like that. I'm going to end with something I could have gotten to a minute before. I'm going to just be able to mention the chiefs. And so what I'd like to do, I'm going to close my little piece with apologies to the Iroquois with something called the condolences. Before any important meeting of the Haudenosaunee, the Longhouse Builders, their name for themselves is Onkwehonwe, the real people. They would read this because it's important to get everyone's mind. They say, let us bring our minds together as one mind. And this is the ceremony that goes with this. And I'm going to be telling the story that this comes from tomorrow or the next day. So before we do what we've come here together to do, we must remember that it has been a long time since last we were together. Since that time, some of you may have suffered a loss. It may be that there is something that you are grieving over. Since last we met, some of you may have suffered the loss of a loved one. Perhaps you have had several losses. It may be that your eyes have been clouded over by tears and that you can no longer see the beauty of the Creator. Perhaps the soreness of the grief that you have suffered now blocks your vision. And if this is the case since last we met, then I offer you, in symbolism, a white doe skin that I take from the sky of the Creator. The skin of the doe is soft and comforting, and with it I wipe the tears of grief and the soreness of old wounds from your eyes. In symbolism, I wash and soothe them so that you may see properly once again. It's been a long time since last we met. And it may be that in that time you have suffered the loss of a loved one. Perhaps some of you have suffered many losses. It may be that the cries of grief now echo in your ears so that you can no longer hear properly. If this is the case since last we met, I offer you a white feather, a gift from the Creator that I take from the sky. I take this feather, and in symbolism, I will clear the cries of grief from your ears, that the silence may rest and comfort you, and that you may hear properly once again. Since last we met, I fear that you have suffered the loss of a loved one. I fear that the losses of your heart have been many, and that you have uttered many cries of grief and done much weeping. It may be that a great sob has become lodged in your throat, and this may be stopping you from speaking the truth of the Creator. If this is the case, I will reach into the sky and take for you a bowl of pure water. And this water is sweet and comes from the Creator, that you may drink it, and it may wash the lump of grief from your throat, so that once again you may speak properly. All of these things I offer you in symbolism, that you may be relieved of the pain of whatever losses you may have suffered since last we met, that once again we may join hands and with open hearts offer gratitude for this day to the Creator.